All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Bernie FLORESCA here from Career Services, and welcome to another session for #Business Relations. I don't like to call these sessions networking because networking, Sagar actually made a point. People tell you to network, but nobody really tells you what to do exactly. And what we get from these sessions in the afternoon is we show you exactly how to, number one, find the people that you could connect with to genuinely try to make friends with them, because they can eventually help you in your job search. And by the way, job search is just one of the applications of the business relations material that we studied. So Zainab, if you could please repeat what you shared you were hoping to get out of today's session, and then I'm going to ask Deb. And Asier is kind of like reviewing this. Aryan, actually, I want to hear what you guys were expecting out of this session. So please take it away, Zainab.
Okay, so my expectations are that I would get the chance to learn about how are we supposed to like follow up with industry professionals. And for example, like just to get an understanding of, for example, if we are reaching out somebody for the very first time, what sort of information from the introduction point of view we should share, and like how long the message should be. I know it shouldn't be too long so that the person doesn't seem to be interested in like reading out the message, but I just want to know that what part of introduction is crucial in terms of understanding. And for example, what is one main sentence that we should like share? For example, why are we reaching out to them? For example, because in my experience, whenever I apply to a job, I try to reach out to the recruiters on LinkedIn, and then I say that, hey, I just applied to this position in your company, and I look forward to scheduling a call to learn more about
Let me
the
send this message
responsibilities
and then we can
and
add.
the company culture.
Okay,
Yeah.
Go from there.
Okay.
Might have you help me with something in here.
Sure.
So.
All right, sorry about that. So thank you, Zainab. You brought up quite a few points. Number one is, how do you reach out? I'm glad you brought it up. I want to make the distinction at this point that part of what you're taught in like creating a business relationship is the assumption that you have time to create that relationship. However, there are situations in that, like you just shared, there's a job opening, you reach out to the recruiter, and then you want to create some sort of background of relatedness immediately, but you do not have the luxury of creating the business relationship that is the basis of the conversation. So I want to cover both of those cases, but I want to distinguish that for the listeners of today, that there's a difference between how do you do your outreach when it's somebody that you have the luxury of time, and how do you do it if you just have somebody who has a job opening for you. So any reactions to what Zainab said from anybody on the call? The reason I get into details with the people on the call is I want to make it about you. What are the issues? You obviously spent the time to come to today's call, so I want to address your specific needs. So thank you for sharing that, Zainab. Any reactions to what Zainab just shared? No reactions? Welcome, Kendall and Karthik. And then I'm going to ask Aryan next.
I can add some points in that. So
Okay.
yeah, I agree with Jainab. Like I am also currently like facing like I am applying through, I am messaging to the recruiter or HR department, but very few, like out of 10, I am getting one or two response back if they have. And some people are responding after a month. That time, like vacancies is already closed. They don't have hiring position. So I am struggling with this thing a bit. Even though networking is good with them, I'm pinging them. I'm just trying to, like, after 1 or 2 days, I'm just reminding them, like, still I am interested in this job. But I can see, like, it's not like up to mark, it's not I'm getting response.
Yep, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Priya Darshini. You're absolutely right. Sometimes you send stuff and then the window at which you make connection is kind of gone. However, I want to switch your thinking in that we want to distinguish when we talk about transactional outreach, i.e., you need this, they give A, you get B, you know, and then once the transaction or the product that you need at that point in time, you wanted the job and it didn't happen. To most of you guys on the call, you just kind of like hang up and just kind of like leave that, and that's something that you worry about later. So let's talk about all those things.
Yeah.
Saga raised his hand. He had something to add or additional question. Thank you, Priyadarshini. Sagar, you're still muted.
Am I audible now?
Yes. Good. Now you're muted again.
So I was trying to add one thing that we don't have to wait till the recruiter posts any job. Start building connection before a recruiter posts any job. If you have a relation beforehand, so once he or she posts any job, so he have an idea of you that you are also looking for a job. A lot of jobs offered to candidates before posting on any on their any sites. If you have the connection, you can land that job. So start building network randomly and look for the profiles and any specific companies you want to work in.
Very good,
And you
Sagar.
can
Thank you for sharing that.
yeah.
Sorry, you were saying something else?
No, you can, like, if you like some companies, you find their recruiters and start building network with them.
Okay.
And when the hiring time comes, you have the advantage, and you can ask about yourself that you want a job, or your company has a referral program, as you say always.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Sagar. So Sagar is peeling the onion, if you will, with a bigger continuum, okay? When we start the topic of business relations, the whole idea is that you get to pick the companies that you want, but there are cases in that you want to follow up with people who had job openings. Therefore, the relationship, there's no time to create that. So we just opened the next continuum. Actually, I have some case studies out here, and Asier, I hope you don't mind if I share the two messages that you said. You said you didn't really get a whole lot of messages, and we could use that as topic, as something to talk about more concretely, so that you guys can ask more questions and you understand the concepts that were shared. So, Dev, I know you wanted to talk to me about resume, but I invited you to this business relations. Anything that you want to share in the short time that you've heard some of the other students sharing what they expected out of this call?
I'm definitely just looking forward to hearing more from everyone else.
Okay, very good. And Aryan?
Me personally, sir, I'm just here to, this is my first business relationships workshop, so I just want to know how to, like, start conversations with people in the industry, and, how to stay in touch after making a connection on the LinkedIn.
Okay, very good. Thank you. You're in the right place. And Asier,
Yeah.
anything else you want to add to the conversation? You and I had a LinkedIn conversation before this, so
Yeah.
I kind of know where you're at. Was there anything you needed to add?
No, everything's
Okay.
good, and
Thank you, everybody, for participating. This is going to be very participatory to get the most out of this. So I like that the mix of this group is like new students newer to the information. So I will start from the very basics. And then I understand, obviously, that we have more people that I'm going to address all your needs, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. So if you're in the LinkedIn group, you want to go to home. If you're not part of the LinkedIn group, that's the steps that I'm showing at the moment. Also, for the viewers of this video afterwards, all you have to do is type in Illinois Tech Career Services. And then you want to click see all results, and then you want to go to the groups. Once you get to the groups, you will see Illinois Tech Career Services that has almost 4,000 members. If you're not part of it, it's going to say join. If you are, just go directly into the group. Some of you are just reviewing this, coming back to this, because you've been very busy during the school year. The important document that you need is you scroll down to the Career Services group like this. And I shared some of the success stories from previous students, okay? This has been taught to Illinois Tech students since 2023, and you have some success stories here. Obviously, I can't ask everybody to share the stories that are shared, or the students who actually come back and tell me what occurred, with their outreach using this information. So going back to what I was saying earlier, you want to scroll down to the content of the group. You're looking for the index. So if you notice, as I scroll down, there's one instance of index, and then you have another. You just scroll down until you see it. There's another instance of index. Once you get to this document, it gives you an at a glance of the different topics that we're covering. Today, we're covering business relations. When you click business relations, it opens up this document. And then I want to repeat that this did not originally start as an index. It used to be just a repository of links that once we shared with students, they were like, wow, what a collection of information. So we had to find a quick way without much effort to make it an index. The easiest solution was in Google Docs just to put hashtag in front of the topic. And if you notice, you have hashtag business relations, you have hashtag communications, hashtag cover letter. Another popular topic is hashtag resume. And I want to call your attention to hashtag international. Okay. We have some students who say they were in their third or fourth round of interview, and then they find out after spending and wasting all that time that the company wasn't hiring international students. So you have a wealth of information here. So just going back to hashtag business relations, you want to have a recording. This is like the introduction recording to business relations. There is also this part here where it says 106 applications, and the student got 12 internship offers, 12 interviews, 12 internship offers. And here you have another recording that talks about business relations, okay? So I want to call your attention to this bullet that says advocates, and it actually summarizes, especially for the new people, what you need to start from scratch. So this was called advocates. So we're trying to distinguish advocate versus referral. So just out of curiosity, anybody know the difference between advocate and referral? The newer people.
Sure.
Ariane, what do you think an advocate is versus a referral?
I know what a referral is, but I don't exactly know what an advocate is.
Mhm. I'm glad that you said you know what a referral is. So what do you know about a referral, Ariane?
A referral is like you can ask some of the alumni or someone who's already working in a company to, ask them ask them to refer you as a person that they know you and who can be a good fit for the job to the company. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Okay, good. So thank you for sharing that, Ariane. Most everybody knows what a referral is. I want to
Yeah.
expand your vision to say that you don't want necessarily just referrals. You want an advocate. An advocate is somebody, just like you said, Ariane, who works inside the company, but their purpose isn't just say, hey, Bernie works for Google. You're going to say, Bernie, can you refer me to this job opening? I'm just a referral for you, or you're my referral to Google, but I want to catch your attention that if you created a relationship with Bernie, who works at Google, and I get to know you better, you and I have a relationship, I'm looking out for you internally. So if I see this opening that I know Ariane is looking for, I'm going to reach out to Ariane. I can even go as far as within Google, talk about Ariane and kind of like push him into the shortlist if the opportunity came about. So do you understand the difference, Ariane?
Yes, sir, I get it.
So advocate is much, much stronger. And that's why it's very important to have these business relationships, because now you go beyond just looking for referrals. You're essentially just making friends with people at the companies that you choose, so that you have people within the companies that you want who could, if you had a good relationship, push you in if there were openings. So I would assert that even now that the job climate, it was bad to begin with, and it's getting much, much worse because of what's going on with the job search landscape. I would say that relationships, it was important already to begin with. It's even much, much more important now because of the job search landscape. So back to what I'm sharing with you, you have the video, which is the intro that I showed you. The how-to refers to, it's actually this document. It's the third bullet that says connect code, connect practice, and connect messaging. What that's referring to is a group of messages that teach you what to say. So to the point that we were bringing up earlier, right? There's 3 groups of messages. There's a connect code, there is a connect practice, and then there's a connect messaging. Connect code is teaching you what to say versus the normal thing that people say. So I'm going to ask the new people to tell me why they think this is wrong. I mean, it makes sense to send a message like this, but it's not very effective. So Deb, why do you think that the following message isn't very effective? So just a little bit of background. Nithya Mahadevan is a data science manager at Google. This student sent this message in response to a job opening. So it's kind of like the case where Priya Darshini brought up earlier, that she was saying, you know, she gets stuck with some of the people because she applied for this job. Who else said something earlier? I think we lost her.
Yeah, I'm here. Bernie, you're saying something?
Oh yeah, Zainab, there you are. So this was the case that you were
No.
saying earlier, Zainab, where you know you're trying to connect to somebody who just have a job posting. So Zainab and Arya and Deb and Kendall and Karthik, feel free to jump in. This makes a lot of sense to send, but it's not very effective. Why not? Deb, go ahead. You don't need to
Well,
raise your hand, guys. Just kind of like jump in the conversation.
is it because you're not trying to have a small talk before? It's just you're just asking for it?
Okay, you kind of like introduce, you're not trying to have a small talk. That kind of implies that you need to small talk. No, small talk is a solution to the problem that this message created. Okay, so what is the problem of this message? Nice try about not small talk, but I guess I don't want to mislead you saying that, you know, you need to small talk. I mean, yes, you do, but that's not the reason why this is ineffective. No answers?
I
Number one,
personally,
go ahead.
sir, I personally think that this question is like this reach out mail is not that effective because me, if I see it from a person like from the Nithya's point of view, I would say this is a bit like I don't know, a bit direct and just I don't think that it's very much effective. And I would love to know what the effective way would be.
When you say direct, what do you mean?
Like it says, I saw this posting and I believe I could be a good fit and asking for a quick chat. Like,
Yeah, there's a bunch of components to what you just said, but to Zainab's point and Priya Darshini earlier, you applied for a job, there was a job posting of which this is the case, so it just makes sense to say, hi Nithya, I saw your job posting, I'm interested, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so to your point of being direct, it makes sense to be direct. The reason it's not effective is guess how many of this type of messages Nithya's getting?
yep.
A lot, right? So if I were Nithya and I open up my message box like this, it's full of these messages. Do you get why it's ineffective?
Mhm.
Make sense?
Yes, yes, sir.
Questions? So let me go to Asir, actually, who said he sent a bunch of messages. Asir, is it okay to share your messages?
Yeah, no problem.
All right, thank you. So Asier said he's been sending this message out. And so one of Asier's messages was, hello, X. You guys see this?
Yes, sir.
He says, hello, X. My name is Asier. I'm a master's student of AI at IIT. I've really enjoyed researching your company and I am impressed. Would love to connect. And Asier said that he gets 2 out of 10 responses.
Mhm.
Okay. I like the shortness of the way Asier is sending this out, but it could be shorter to the point that if I open up my mailbox, what I would see first is that part that says hello X and possibly my name is. Okay. So if I have hello Bernie, my name is, and I have 500 of those messages, Asier is not standing up.
All right.
Okay. And then Asier's second message said, he kind of like followed the same thing. I like that Asier is using their first name. That's part of the best practices. I mean, just think about it. If somebody refers to you by your first name, you're more likely to look at it, look at the message. And then he does the same thing. He tells his name, and then he says he recently learned about Company X through studying at IIT, and he's very interested in working. And then he says, would love to connect. So general comments about why Asier is only getting 2 out of 10 connects from the team. Now let's hear from Sagar and maybe Srilasya and who else? Any comments as to why?
Maybe we should talk more about the person that we are connecting with or the company that we are interested in.
Okay, so Srilasya is suggesting that if you talk about them versus talking about you, okay, because it's very obvious from Asier. He's like, hello, X, my name is, talking about him. I really enjoyed. Okay, he's talking about him. Would love to connect. Asier would love to connect. This whole message is about him. And that's usually the approach that makes sense, but is not very effective in this case. So thank you, Lasya. Anything else you wanted to add to that, or anybody else from the team or reactions? Let's dissect what I just shared with you guys.
I have one thing to say here. So we need to. It's common that we will say our name or like our degree with while we are connecting with people on LinkedIn, but uh, if we go to a person like the if we go in person, if we want to talk with the other people, we are seeing outside, and we connect with them by addressing about themselves first and then continuing the conversation further. So I think it would be nice if we connect online networking or online connection in on LinkedIn with in person so that we can make more personal and genuine.
So what's the point you're trying to make there, Lasya? You connect with them in person?
No, I'm talk more about them first, and then slowly talk about yourself, what your interests in, and then slowly build the connection.
Okay. So you want to start with them, talking about them first, versus talking about you immediately. Because like we were saying earlier, there were 500 messages. Everybody's talking about themselves. You're just one of the 500. You're not standing out. And if you sent a longer message, when I open up my inbox, it's very obvious that you're just one of the 500. So very good. Talk about them first. So Sagar, you had anything to add?
Yeah, talk about themselves first. And your first message should be very crisp, so you can be remembered to that person.
Yeah.
And you can react on their post, check out their activity, and post a meaningful comment so person can be connected with you. So I got the response last week as I shared with you, and this is the only way I learned from you. Yeah.
Okay. So let's go into specific cases. So How about we do this first? Zainab, I see your request to share the message again, but I want to move on. If you had anything to add to that without drawing out what that is, I want to move on to something else to make that point. Did you have a specific question as to why you wanted the message displayed again? Zainab?
Yeah, actually, I didn't read the message completely, so I just wanted to have
Oh,
a
okay.
look at it. Yeah.
I guess I don't want to belabor that point. I'm just going to go into the next one. Okay. So the topic that we
Okay.
just learned about what people were saying is number one, don't just talk about yourself, because the message that I just shared earlier just talked about themselves. They sent the usual stuff. Hi, my name is Bernie FLORESCA, Master's Electrical Engineering. I learned about you. I love to connect with you. I is what it's usually saying. Oh, by the way, do you have 15 minutes to spend with me? Because I want to really learn about your company, is essentially what it says. I know. Okay, so it's totally about you, and it makes sense to a lot of students. That's why it's not very effective. Okay, so the suggestions that were brought onto the table is one strategy is to make it ultra short, so that when I open up the message box and then you talk about them specifically, you're going to rise above 500 messages that show up because you change your strategy. You're not talking about you at the moment, but you're talking about them. And I would say this would apply to your case, Zainab, earlier, even if it was time used, and the same with you, Priya Darshini, in that you said you just applied for a job. You need to open the door first before you make a case, is what this initial message is saying. So take a look at some of the messages. If you go to Connect Cold, some of the examples, for example, Coca-Cola. Let's just say that this person that has here that I'm showing on the screen just had posted a job. I'm going to be strategic and I'm going to say something kind of clever to catch their attention. And I say something like this. Let's just say that Chase just posted a job opening, and guess how I'm going to open up? Instead of saying, hi, Bernie FLORESCA here, Masters, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to say, happy Friday, Chase. I'm going to use their first name. And since he works for Coca-Cola and that's where the job is, I tried to be clever by saying something like, I love my Diet Coke. So reactions from the group of the difference between what makes sense and what you're talking about and how you're opening the door. Asier, are you catching this? We're giving you a different way of opening the door. I'm going to hear reactions, please.
Yes, it's much different.
It's much different good or much different bad, much different. This is something different to me. I'm not comfortable with it. I want to address all of that for all of you on the call. So specific reaction, Asier, you feel comfortable doing this?
Yes, you just have
Okay, good.
to have the idea.
You want to practice, right? And that's why we have these calls weekly, because like Sagar, this is his third attendance into these weekly meetings because he's getting stuff out of it, stuff being he's practicing during the week. And then when he comes to the Friday meetings, he has the opportunity to say, hey, Bernie, I sent this out. They're not responding to me. So that's the invitation for the rest of you guys to do that. So let's see, who else can I give an example of? So for example, Tesla. So I want to hear from the new people, Dev maybe, or Aryan, or even Kendall and Karthik. Why does this work? So this company is Tesla, and Aaron worked for Tesla at the time. It doesn't work there anymore, but I was giving the example of saying, again, if you guys I use the greeting, okay, to acknowledge the human being on the other side. Hey, Aaron, I use their first name. I acknowledge the other person by saying happy Monday. And then my hook said, how could I pass up connecting with a recruiter from Tesla? So for the new folks, what am I using as a hook? No idea.
I mean, like the hook line of how could I pass up connecting is more like adds more humor to the message rather than being too more
Very good.
professional.
I'm glad you caught that. Adding the humor, and then I'm kind of elevating Aaron, saying, how could I pass up? Like, wow, you work for Tesla. How could I pass up not connecting with you? I'm glad that you caught that with the humor part, okay? To that point that Dev just made, another thing that I want to squash from the conversations, especially on LinkedIn. I've been doing LinkedIn work. Okay, they have over 1 billion global users now. When I started work on LinkedIn, there were like only 610 million global users. Okay, so one of the things that I observed working on LinkedIn is it's an informal environment. It's a combination of business owners, entrepreneurs, professionals, and the general atmosphere or the general environment that it's created is very similar to American culture. American culture is very informal, okay? It's not so much about levels, okay? I know in other cultures, you know, if somebody's at a higher level, if they're in management and you're a regular employee, the way that you speak kind of differs. I'm just saying that for LinkedIn, it mimics the American environment in that it is less formal. Okay, so when people address LinkedIn or they're sending messages, just like you would send a formal letter, say, "Dear Bernie," and then you kind of like get into formal language, complete sentences. That's not required for LinkedIn. The shorter, the better, because we're all busy, is the idea. So thanks for sharing, Zach. That was a good catch. Anybody else have anything to share with us about this? Let's see here. Standard, or you could just send the standard stuff. So I guess the invite to you guys, especially the newbies, is to try everything in Connect Code. Start sending this to some people and see what this does, okay? This one is on the shorter side, but it's kind of the stuff that people know. The student said, "Hey, Bernie," and then he started talking about himself. "I'm a junior graduate. I'd be happy to connect." In this case, he didn't even say he would be happy to connect because this was a connect request. Okay, so I'm just giving you an example of the standard, but that just reminded me of under Connect, this part that says exclusively cold outreach. I want you guys to learn from this, like Asier, for example, who has been practicing and isn't really getting a lot of responses. I ran into another student actually on campus today, and then I saw that their messages, they were kind of like longer. So it's really shifting your mindset into how you approach this with people. So the success story that I'm sharing on screen right now is from Yash, who graduated from the university. And at the time, he said, "Yesterday, I was shooting my resume to people on LinkedIn. And like usual, I was till yesterday sending 100 words long text to people on LinkedIn and got no response." Sound familiar?
Yep.
So Priyadarshini, they're getting no response. And then he said he gave an exercise.
Correct.
I gave him an exercise to go back to the same people that he was getting no responses. Okay, so I didn't tell him to go to a different set of 50 people. I just told him to go back to the same 50 and just say it happened to be a brand new month. We're coming into a brand new month. It's June over the weekend. So you could do what I suggested to the student. You use their first name and just say Priyadarshini, comma, happy June. Whom in this case, Yash said they previously sent these messages to these people. And then he goes, guess what? 5 out of 50 people, it's the same people that he had sent a longer message to before, and they responded to happy June. Okay, so going back to the message design principles, it's got to be short. I want to say that it's uber short so that when I open the message box, I can see immediately what the person said. And if I saw Priyadarshini just saying happy June, you know, I'm more likely to answer that versus if I'm very busy, I'm going to say, "Oh, that's one of the people who just applied to the job. I have 500 more. I'll get to it later." And then later never shows up. And then the second part is you're wording it such that you're expecting a response. If I met Priyadarshini on campus or in the hallway and I said, "Oh, I have happy June," she would respond back, "Happy June," right? And then the last piece that we talk about is avoid immediately making a request. Okay. Are you guys learning anything from what's being shared so that you can try this between now and next Friday so you guys can get some results? So Asier, some of the people that you sent some messages to that didn't reply, I would just say, you know, first name, comma, happy June. See what that does for you.
Yes, I will try it.
Awesome. I want to hear some of these success stories next week, or even just send me a message. Okay, if you can't attend, And by the way, that's the reason why we record these calls, because even if you miss it, you can still have it in the LinkedIn group. Any questions about what was just shared? No questions? Let's go into some more specific cases.
But I have one thing to ask.
Right.
Like I have heard from some people like to writing hi, I hope you are doing well is also not a good approach. Is it right? So
Why do you
directly
think?
we cannot ask to a new person like it's a none of my business. I heard from some people like why you are asking a stranger like I hope you are doing well. This is not, you are not asking of something intentionally. It's not a friend or like that. So is it a like normally we'll write in an email or something like hi this I hope you are doing well, then we'll start our topic.
It's
So
a
what
very
do
good
you think?
question. Very good question. In the context of sending out messages, part of what you're also being taught is to read the situation. So in a situation where total stranger, and then you're just reaching out to them for the first time, if you were just here standing by me, it would be okay to say, oh, hi, how are you, right? But it's
Yeah,
kind of like strange when you send it in a LinkedIn message, especially if you're sending it to a person who you're trying to get their attention to because you just applied to a job. Okay, so you see the difference
yeah,
of the situation. So do you understand why it doesn't necessarily, I mean, it translates if Priya Darshini was next to me here and say, hey, how are you doing? Sounds great, right? But it doesn't quite translate if I put it in a message in the context of what we were talking about. Does that answer your question?
yeah, correct. I got it. Yeah,
Does it make
thank you.
sense? Actually,
Yes.
I'm glad you brought that up because it wants me to share. Most of this, by the way, is based on, like I started earlier, it's American culture. I mean, because LinkedIn is an American
Yeah,
company, obviously, and we're trying to capitalize on, this is the index, okay? So you can do a Control F, then type in small. It was brought up
yeah,
earlier. I think Doug brought it up earlier. This whole thing is based on the concept of small talk. So feel free to read up more. Okay, there's a couple
yeah,
of
correct.
articles there that you can read up on, and that's kind of part of Priya Darshini's question. Because hi, how are you doing? Is small talk, but I gave you a nuance in that it translates in person, but it doesn't translate the same way when you're sending it as a message on LinkedIn. Make sense? Good question.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, thank you.
Other questions? Otherwise, I want people for the remainder of the time that we have to share, like Srilasya or Sagar, some of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
stuff that
Can
they
you
were
please
sending out.
can you please share something about small chat, because we are not familiar with a lot with that. I know in boot camp you said if you're traveling, if you're going out, you can practice there as well. So can you please share how we can initiate a small chat
Okay,
and
small
yeah,
talk, not small chat.
small talk. Yeah,
Yes,
small
small
talk.
talk.
Yeah.
So why don't we do this? We'll make it more practical. So I'm just going to pick a company. Say, Zainab, give me a company that you want to work for.
JP Morgan.
JP Morgan. So we will
Yeah.
apply what Sagar said to JP Morgan. The reason I'm just doing it at random is to prove the point to you guys that I can small talk anybody practically, just to open up the doors to Asier's issue. He's been sending stuff out, but people aren't necessarily responding. So let's go to JP Morgan. JP Morgan. Oh, and by the way, that list that I showed you for business relations, third link actually opened up a Google Sheets spreadsheet. Once you start reaching out to people, you want to, I should really bring that here. So that, because we have a bunch of new people on this call. So you just type in Sheets, connect contacts on Google Sheets. So you want to start one of these so that you can keep track of the people that you're talking to. Okay, so you can put the name of the person, the LinkedIn, and then you can create your own notes like this. Okay, So let me give you an example from my business. Bernie, for example, what you're being taught, by the way, is being applied. You guys are looking for jobs with different companies. I reach out to businesses for my personal business. So if you take a look at this, the contact information, notice how I'm making notes out here. Okay, let me just go to some folks out here. I make notes to myself. I emailed them on December 30th. I note down whatever. You can pretty much put in whatever you want to note down, because these are notes for you so that you know where you left off when you reach back out to that person again. Okay, so back to JP Morgan. So Zainab, you want to start this if you haven't yet? Back to JP Morgan. You can type in any company that you wish, or even the companies that you're already seeing their job ads with. So Zainab, we know, is in finance. So let's go to the people and just randomly pick somebody that we can practice Sagar's question of how do I small talk anyone. This happens to be in London, but my computer isn't coordinating. So let's just pick. That wasn't a good pick because it's not giving us some good people to talk to. JP Morgan. Why is it just showing Canada? Okay, this one is what we want in New York, right? Zainab, you click on people. So Sagar, you're going to have first dibs as how to create small talk. You kind of did some of that last week, right? But I want to ask you questions. I want you to ask me questions, Sagar. So let's pick Tom Villanova, for example. He's a managing director at JP Morgan. So I want to start small talk, just seeing what's on the screen. How can I small talk them with the information that you're seeing on the screen? I'm giving you a clue. Any ideas?
Talk about the mutuals.
Exactly. So in this case, just showing it, I'm just finding out different ways to open up small talks, Sagar.
Yes.
So here I noticed that Tiffany White, a common connection between me and Tom. So I could open up the conversation saying, Tom, comma, I see you know Tiffany White, question mark. Okay, would be one way, right? What would be another way if I wanted to use Marquette, for example? So nothing's
You want to
obvious,
talk?
right? Go ahead.
Do you want to talk about the education university?
You could talk, but what would you say exactly? Okay, I give you an example here. Okay, part of your learning for here is not to describe what you would say. I want to hear verbatim what you would say, because that's tantamount to what you would type. So what would you say, for example, about Marquette? Ideas? I want you to practice practical words to say. So Asir, feel free to jump in.
Maybe I will go down and see what exactly he graduated in
Okay,
to have more
let's go
ideas.
down and then to, he graduated in 2007 with a BS in finance.
Mm,
Ideas? I could say something like, let's see, 2007, I could say, hey, what was it like graduating from Marquette in 2007? So the reason that's kind of effective is I picked the year, so it's obvious that I did my research, right? So in my message, the two words that are hooks, I said Marquette, and then I picked out 2007. That was very personal to Tom. Does it make sense? I'm just giving you ideas. They're not necessarily the most effective, but to the point that we're saying with small talk, the reason it's called small talk is it's really something that's small. It's not like a major conversation. You're just picking bits and pieces of random information just to start a conversation. That's the whole concept of small talk. Okay, so why don't we go around the room You guys are on your computers. Go to Tom Villanova's profile, and then I want to hear what you would say. You guys see the name, Tom Villanova? And then I'm going to start with Sagar and say, what would you say, Sagar, for Tom? Your small talk. I want to hear the short and then what it was about. And let's have the group reaction to see how what you guys come up with is good or not good. What would you say, Sagar?
I would say, hi Tom, happy
Hi,
Friday.
Tom.
Big
Happy
plans
Friday.
for the weekend.
Big plans for the weekend? Okay. How about
That's it.
something okay, that was from our practice from last week. I want you to try something else
Okay.
wherein you take it from the profile. So everybody do the same thing, okay? The skill I'm honing with you guys is to find something in their profile to create small talk about. Anybody want to go ahead while Sagar is thinking?
After seeing his profile, right after his
Don't
graduation,
describe, just say what you're going to say. So hi, Tom, or whatever. What is it, Lassia?
I think you really love working at a JP Morgan Chase.
I think you really love working at JP Morgan Chase. Okay, not bad. So if I were the person, I would be like, who the heck is this person thinking that I love? I wonder how she thought that. No, I'm being devil's advocate, but you need to think that way
Yeah.
whenever you send a message, right? So I just give you a gut reaction. We don't know what his reaction would be. Okay. I like that Lassia is thinking out of the box. She's thinking about, oh, that he likes working for JP Morgan. So my reaction to what Lassia said, and different people have different reactions, obviously. That's why I'm practicing with you guys to see what the other person might get. So
Bernie,
my
I
gut,
have
you have
something.
something to
I
suggest?
Yeah, I would say, hey Tom, how's it like working as a manager director for JP Morgan?
Okay. So I like thinking out of the box. And then he said,
Mm-hmm.
how is it like to be working as a manager at JP Morgan? So Priya Darshini, does this fall along the lines of how are you doing? What do you guys think?
Yeah, like we can ask how you're doing or how is your day going on, kind of thing.
No. But Aryan said very specifically, he said, what did you say again, Aryan? How do you like working
How's
as a
it like
manager?
working as a managing director at JP Morgan?
How's it like working as a managing director at JP Morgan? So think about this, okay? Stranger, and then this just popped up in his inbox, and it's very short.
Mhm.
Hey, Tom, how is it working at, whatever he said? How is it landing on you guys?
Yeah.
Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? I like that you guys are practicing this. So thank you for sharing that, Ariane. But I'm kind
Thank
of
you,
like
sir.
going from the route of somebody that's hearing from a stranger for the first time. How would it land? Comments.
Yeah,
It's not bad, but I kind of have a question mark as to how it could land for Tom, right?
yep.
Good try, Ariane. Give us some more. Deb, Asier?
I would say like your career is impressive and would love to connect.
Okay, actually, that was good. I would make it even better. Asier is coming from the standpoint of giving a compliment. Your career is impressive. So he could say, hi, Tom, comma, your career is impressive, exclamation point. And then you
Yeah,
don't even say, I'd love to connect, because it's obvious. I mean, you're reaching out to them. You want to connect,
right.
right? So from the shortness standpoint, hi, Tom, your career is impressive, exclamation point would be a good one. Any changes that you would do for that? The change I would add is to find something very specific in Tom so that when I say your career is impressive, it catches the attention even more because it's more personal. So let's go back. Actually, let's work with that. And I want to see what the team comes up with Asier's suggestion of career. Impressive. Okay, so how long has he worked for JP Morgan Chase? 18 years. So Asier could have said, Hi, Tom. What did you say again?
Your career is impressive.
Your career is impressive. I would say your 18-year career
Mhm.
is impressive.
Mm,
So you see how
more
it's even
personal.
more hard. It's not just some random guy, because sometimes people just give generalities, right? He could consider it general, saying your career is impressive. But if you say your 18-year career is impressive, he was like, oh, how did he know? So
Yeah.
you see how it even makes you stand out even more. What did you guys just learn with that little tweak?
Even the small talk, make it more personal so that,
Very
the
good.
other person, like, he knows that you've done your research on him and wants to connect and just not make it obvious while you send that message that you want to connect. I was like, just be a good, it's a very personal compliment so that the guy, has our picture in his mind when he sees it, maybe. Yep.
Very good, Ariane. So what did we learn today? We wanted to make our conversations really short so that when they open the message box, it's very obvious. They can read immediately what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Asier just suggested go the compliment route. And then we kind of took that further by saying, pick something else from the profile that's personalized so that it catches their attention even more. And then Sagar, he kind of like tried with the usual. Sagar went with the easy stuff, and I was trying to have him flex more of his muscles because he learned this last week. You can talk about the weekend, obviously, and it's not necessarily the same. Priya Darshini as saying, how are you doing? This was more specific. Any plans for the weekend type thing is what Sagar said. So, Lasya, you had a good story to share. Is it along the lines of what we've spoken about so far? Or can you
Yes.
connect it? Because you said you had a good story with your practice from last week.
Yeah, but it's related to in-person networking, but I wanted to make it short and share it with you
Okay,
guys.
hang on. It's in person, but I want people, as they're listening to Lasya, to see if there are applications in
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn. Okay. She's talking to us about an in person situation that obviously was effective, and that's why she's excited to share it with us. I want everybody, however, to focus on how that could be translated into LinkedIn if it could be translated. Okay. So go ahead, Lasya.
Yeah, so right now we have like plenty of resources that what how to connect and how not to, but most of us couldn't like can't follow them by just looking the resources, and because maybe we can't uh, learn or do by just seeing them, because everyone's situation is different. You and I are like coming up with different backgrounds. So
Yep.
my way of suggestion is, instead of treating networking like a task or a skill to master, like as we learn in career services, that we have to make it more genuine to make more, great relationships with people. So we need to think while we are connecting. So we need to think two questions: why we are connecting with someone. Is it because that we need to join the company with the big companies, or like we are generally genuinely curious about to join and to build a relationship. So I admit that I have reached out to a few people on LinkedIn just to connect with them because they are working in big tech companies, and I wanted to build a relationship with that selfishness thing. And we all need to have that uh, in mind, because ultimately we need to get the job at the end. But but at the same time, I wanted to ask myself that are we thinking about uh, whether the company is fitting for us or not? Like, are we caring about the values? Are we thinking about all those things? So yesterday I attended a summit and connected with a speaker whose talk I felt more personal to me, and I went up to her with really curious respect and excited. So she was super kind, and I at the end I got her contact information. Now it's on me how I take forward.
Yep.
So we are
Can you share
learning
the
from
specifics of what you said, please?
sorry, sir.
What did you say? I mean, because obviously you approached the person. So how did this conversation go?
So I didn't go and say hi or hello or introduce myself. I just went and said that the point that she talked in the speech is something that I'm eager to listen from someone speaking about that point. So I went straight to her and said that I really love the way you have said about this point. So she was
Okay,
really
very
impressed
good.
by.
Very good. Let's
Yep.
pause it right there. Why was that
uh,
effective, Ariane?
it was very effective because she already like she knew that she's the one who designed the entire speech. So if somebody finds a point impressive and they makes note of it and comes up to you and talks about it afterwards, they definitely feel the importance of, you understanding and feeling personal and connection to that point. So they
Yes.
might be even more interested in connecting to you because they connect on that
Yes.
specific point. Yep.
So Lasia was very strategic in that she
Yep.
mentioned a good point, to your point, Ariane, about
Yep.
them. Okay. Again, she used talking about them to make the connection. She didn't introduce herself, blah, blah, blah. She went directly about the speech. Any other
Yep.
things? Any other thing? Thank you, Ariane. Any other thing you want to add to that? Other comments? Can this be applied to LinkedIn?
Yes, I think this can be applied to LinkedIn, sir. If you
Yes.
find if the person has done something commendable or something, we could be meaningful in that, a comment or something just to catch their eye, and after that send a small talk or connection, mm,
Yeah.
regarding that post or something that they made.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that. All we're doing with our first message is opening the door. And then
Yep.
the reason you want to design it such that they respond is when they say something, you're going to say something else. So it's like texting back and forth. The reason
Yep.
a relationship gets created is you created the environment for the relationship to occur with your back and forth. So to
Yep.
Lasia's point earlier, she started going with that the connection was made, which was the lesson for today. That's why we showed you guys in Connect Code how to open the door. And then you want to do the back and forth. Okay. Sagar is doing the back and forth right now. Asiar is doing some of that when they have the initial conversation. So he's also practicing some of the opening the door. And what did Zainab and Priyadarshini learn from today that they can start applying and practice before next Friday's meeting?
Yeah, Bernie. So yeah, today I have learned something new. Like I have attending, but today I learned something new, like how to stand out with a person while talking, small talk. Like we talked about, like we can talk about how is I'm very impressive with your 18 years journey with a different roles. So these things, yeah, we can make this. And what Lasya said, like that is also correct if we are attending some in person, or like we see someone posted or someone posted some video or post or some their life journeys, a story or something. So we can directly message them or we can directly contact them, like I'm very impressed with your story. I somehow I am attached with that story. So these things we can connect, we can make a good networking between the unknown person, and this is a good way to approach if I am looking for a job in this big industries environment.
Very
So
good.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Zainab?
Yes, I would like to add that thank you for showing the profile of Tom, because that's how I understood that how do you navigate and pinpoint the key points from their profile, which you can include in your conversation to make sure that your message is being highlighted and the person gets back to you. And I know that I do reach out to people, but I don't think that I do like go through the profile of somebody like that thoroughly to like, I mean, for example, if I'm reaching out to an alumni, I would say that, hey, I see that you did your undergrad or your master's from IIT. I'm also doing something from IIT. That's the point I do add, but I don't think that's enough. And I think the main point from this today's class is that like understanding and going through the profile of the professional and making sure that you get one point that is unique and that you can add into your conversation.
Very good. And you talk about them.
Thank you.
The case where you said earlier, oh, I see that you went to Illinois Tech. I went to Illinois Tech. Did you notice how you started with them and then it went back to you? So essentially, it's about you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
But one of the things you're finding out is if you talk about them, it's more effective to open the door. So very good.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good, Zainab.
Thank
Who
you.
was trying to speak? Anybody next? Jump in with what you learned for today or what you plan on doing with today's information moving forward.
Yes, Bernie, I would like to add some points. I really found this meeting to be more efficient, and this is my first business relations class, so I learned a lot from this. I personally haven't reached out to much of the people like the others because I'm in my third semester. I still got a lot of learning to do. And I learned that when you send a cold connection message, you have to be clever and interactive in that opening message. You have to be catchy. So they might be having a lot of messages in their inbox. So you have to stand out just by making it small and effective and more personal and pinpointing out something that's unique and personal about their interest so that you can start and open a door for the conversation where I learned that wherever you want to like if you want to send a full connection to a person from an organization, you gotta first, take a look at their profile. You have to make that effort and like may go through their profile and find something that's you feel that important to them so that you can make a meaningful conversation so that they remember you the next time that you ask for some favor or like, I would love to connect with you. The first thing is like the main thing they had in this Tom case. They said, "Hi Tom, your 18 years of career looks impressive." That from a from Tom's point of view, when I see that message, I see that you already did your research, and that's something I would love as a compliment. So that's what I learned from this: to be more personal and to be, you know, writing as if you're expecting a response.
Yes, for sure. That's why we're strategic with what we send. So thank you for sharing. Ariane, the point that you made that you haven't reached out because you're in your third year, the best time
Yep,
to start applying this is actually to
right now.
Sagar's point earlier. Sagar was saying, don't wait until you need the job. So
Yes,
start
sir.
making those relationships right now because you never
Yep,
know what's on the other side. Okay,
definitely.
very good. Good,
Thank you,
Ariane.
sir.
Anybody else? I'll just keep it open. Nobody else is going to share while I'm waiting for the next share. Thank you, Lasya, for coordinating this and having this is like the third one that she's created in this series. We're going to do an in-person next session, I believe. So please feel free to check back with Sri Lasya. If you are listening to this call and weren't part of this live group, please feel free to reach out in the LinkedIn group. Any final shares before we end this recording?
So while you are connecting with people on LinkedIn, if you don't get the response, don't stop there. Just keep on changing your ways and reach out to people. That's the only way that we can achieve this trick.
Very good. Thank you, Lasya. And I guess to Lasya's point, the reason I shared the resources with you guys in the beginning is obviously we only had an hour to cover some of this and we barely scratched the surface. The reason I sent you guys to the resources is, and I started with Connect Cold. Connect Cold is how to open the conversation. Connect Practice, where I identified people that you can practice this on versus practicing on the real people that you want to connect with. And then Connect Messaging, people like Sagar, people like Sri Lasya, Priyadarshini, Asier, they're coming back to the information and they kind of quote unquote get stuck. When you get stuck, it's the time to reach out because I will help you get through it, give you some suggestions. And if you notice, that was how we structured today's call. So when you get stuck, that's part where it says connect messaging. We're giving you some strategies, some tactics to Lasya's point that you can get around it. Keep at it because we give you other things to do with them. So they're still on your radar. And if the door closes for whatever reason, you can open it again and again and again. That's what you're being taught. So thank you everybody for attending. I will end this recording and thank you again, Lasya. Recording.